Hey guys, good morning. It's Wednesday, December 2nd, and I should actually be really quiet because Dee is sleeping right now. And so I'm pretty much holding down the fort over here, and I wanted to answer some questions out there. Let's go ahead and just dive right down into it because there's a lot of stuff to cover. So, the very first question, it's actually something that we've touched upon a little bit before in the past, and she's saying, "Hey, Chris and David, is caffeine really bad?" And for those of you who've been following for a little while, we've definitely talked about caffeine in the past. Just wondering about coffee, which is one of my great loves, I admit. I need to lose about 80 pounds and just started alternating a 60-minute spinning class with the body pump class on the other day. I'm loving it, but I feel that I need the caffeine to get going each day. Is caffeine really all that bad, and will it hurt weight loss efforts? All right, well, I can assure you that you are not alone in that cup of coffee to get going every day. You know what? I've been there myself, and it's really easy to get more than anything mentally addicted to caffeine. Now, it does take roughly about, they say about 250 to 300 milligrams a day to develop a physical addiction. And of course, when we're talking about this physical addiction, the drawbacks and the withdrawals from that are going to be a headache. Caffeine is what we call a vasoconstrictor, so it actually constricts the blood vessels. So when we stop taking caffeine, your vessels are going to dilate much more than they commonly do, and of course this can give you a big pounding headache. So it's something that just look out for it as you're going through the journey of the caffeine withdrawals. But you know, without talking caffeine withdrawals, I'm really not for caffeine. I'm not against it. Keep in mind it can play a wonderful role in your journey. It depends on what you're really trying to do, and depends on what your goals and your priorities are. Remember, weight loss and wellness, they really are two different things. Of course, a lot of times they go hand in hand. However, we can achieve weight loss in a, I hate to say a not so healthy way, but using methods that in the long term are not going to be extremely healthy for your body, but they can give you faster results. So really it comes down to, well, is this wrong or right? Well, neither. It's neither wrong nor right. We can use caffeine to achieve weight loss, and I'm going to tell you how in just a little bit. But yeah, keep in mind that if we utilize caffeine over a long period of time, then we're going to risk adrenal exhaustion, you risk the physical addiction, you risk a lot of these other, it's kind of a domino effect. However, caffeine really can speed weight loss for certain areas of your weight loss journey. So I'm not for it, I'm not against it. The one thing I would much rather do is educate you, teach you some of the stuff I know, encourage you to go out and do a little bit of research yourself, then you can make an educated decision and see if it's right for you. Sounds like you're on the right track though, especially I love this 60-minute spinning class and the body pump class. Remember, if you're really just getting down into it though, don't overkill yourself. Remember, your body's going to it's going to adapt and get adjusted to whatever it is that you're doing and whatever duration and intensity of exercise you're doing. After a few weeks, sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's 4 weeks, sometimes it's 6 weeks, your body really will adapt to the level and the duration of activity that you're doing, and in order to get increased results, you're going to have to increase the intensity and increase the duration. So sometimes less is more. It's kind of like playing poker with your body. You only want to play one card at a time. So have some fun with that. I know it's tough, especially when you walk into a class. You don't want to be the first one out of the door after 45 minutes when the class isn't even done yet. So just enjoy your class. I think you're definitely headed in the right direction. So let's talk about caffeine really quick. Yes. Especially when your body has gotten adjusted to that caffeine. Do you remember that very first cup of coffee or that very first thermogenic, which is like a pill that you took? It probably sent you through the roof. You're bouncing off the walls and you had more energy than you've ever had in your spinning class and body pump. Sure enough, after about a week or two, what happened is that you have that cup of coffee and it just didn't do quite the trick that it did the first few times, right? Okay, this is completely natural. This is your body actually adapting to it, and it adapts in several different ways when we're talking about the neurotransmitters and whatnot. So I don't want to get into too much jargon there, but your body really does adapt to what you're doing. So of course, in order to get the exact same kind of physiological and the biochemical results, you have to have 2 cups of coffee. So you need to overload your body with more. Now you're bouncing off the walls again. You go and you rock your spinning class. A couple things that are happening here though, and I'm going to talk damage control, is that when we take in caffeine, keep in mind, it's not the caffeine that our body is actually feeling. It's not the caffeine that raises our heart rate and increases the rate of our breathing. What's actually happening is caffeine speeds the amount of brain activity that's going on. So it elicits what we call, a fight or flight response from the body. It elicits this big nervous system response, and your body says, oh my gosh, I'm running from a lion, I have to climb a tree. And so in response to the caffeine, to the increase in brain activity, your body sends a signal down to the adrenals, and the adrenals that are sitting up on top of the kidneys, they go, and they squirt a bunch of adrenaline into the system. It's that adrenaline, epinephrine and norepinephrine, we call them our catecholamines, they squirt that into the system, and that's what attaches to the sure enough, it gets back to the brain, and oh my gosh, here goes my heart rate, here goes my breathing, and I have got this increased sense of alertness. And so that's actually what we're feeling. So what we do when we take in caffeine, we start a domino effect in our body, and the end result is, oh my gosh, I'm wired, I feel really good, breathing goes up, heart rate goes up, and lipolysis actually goes up. They found in some studies that caffeine helps spare glycogen stores, so it spares carbohydrate in the muscle, and it does increase the rate at which your body burns fat. Check this out really quick. I hope I don't lose anyone here, but in order to lose fat, or in order to actually take a triglyceride that's stored in the body, so let's say we got our triglyceride, and our triglyceride is 3 fatty acids, and I'm trying to, number one, so let's say this triglyceride is, it's sitting in our belly fat, so from the inside out. So I want to attach a catecholamine, adrenaline, norepinephrine, epinephrine. I want to attach this to the side of the triglyceride. What does it do is it activates a fat splitting enzyme called a lipase. Boom, and I break this triglyceride open, and I shuttle the triglyceride, with these, which is 3 fatty acids on a glycerol backbone, into the bloodstream. Now, once it's in the bloodstream, it's pumping through. Every time my heart's going like this, now it's got those 3 fatty acids in there, and I want to shuttle those fatty acids into a muscle, and that's where they actually get oxidized, they get burned. So, keep in mind, the more catecholamines that I have in the system, I need those to attach to those fat cells, because that's actually what breaks them open. So is caffeine sometimes good and effective for fat loss? Yes, it really is. However, we can only do it over so much time because your body will adapt to it. I recommend, if you are going to be using caffeine, you're going to use it with a slow progression. So say you are taking a thermogenic, or you're using coffee. Well, the one thing I like to do is I actually like to manipulate it around my nutrition. So a lot of times if I'm carb cycling, I'll pull my carbs out a little bit, throw some caffeine in. Now keep in mind, caffeine also, in this fight or flight response, it does release cortisol, and the body is going to go through a response where it's going to start pulling some sugar out of the liver. Not going to lose you there, but really, I like to pull the carbs. I like to throw a little bit of caffeine in. I get this big fight or flight response. I release those catecholamines, and so I speed up my fat loss. So a lot of times what I like to do is when I'm doing some kind of light activity, I'll reduce my carbohydrate intake. I might have a little bit of caffeine, and I know that when I jump into that cardio, really light cardio, I am a fat-burning machine. Really good way to manipulate it, but keep in mind, it's only going to be effective for about 6 weeks. Then you're going to start to exhaust your adrenals. Because remember, your adrenals are over here. They're sitting on top of your kidneys, and they're just pumping out adrenaline all day long, especially the more caffeine you're drinking, so beware. Keep it to a couple times during the day, maybe in the morning or maybe right before your long-duration cardio. But really important also, I know we're running out of time, start taking a B complex. Vitamin B5, pantothenic acid, has been proven to help replenish those adrenals that are sitting on top. Because remember, if they're squirting it out, after about a week and a half, 2 weeks of pushing that caffeine, after a while they just go, and they're just not going to put that much into the system anymore. So we got to fill those tanks back up. Take a B complex. So that's going to be like the lesson for the day. If you are drinking coffee or you're taking a thermogenic, take a B complex with it. It's going to help replenish those adrenals so that you can get that same kind of kick that you got the very first time. Watch. Pay attention. Listen to your body. Everyone out there who's actually been following along and taking caffeine, go out, get a B complex, throw it in the mix, and you're going to find that the caffeine kick is going to be almost like the very first few times that you took it. Sure enough, it's nothing magic, nothing new, but you're getting a little bit more adrenaline into those adrenals. Of course, when we talk about the neurotransmitters, that's another story, but at least we're getting a little bit more of a kick in there. So, anyway, I hope this really helps. Once again, I'm not for it, I'm not against it. If you are going to be taking a lot of caffeine in the day, damage control. You got to remember, damage control. So, hope this helps, guys. See you next time.